it's also pulled the curtain back on another hard truth. Something that we all have to eventually accept once our childhood comes to an end. You know, all those adults that you used to think were in charge and knew what they were doing, turns out they don't have all the answers.
All right, welcome back to American Agenda. That was President Obama in a tribute to the class of 2020, making a possible jab at the current administration's handling of coronavirus. But President Obama is having his own scandal at the moment to a lot of folks, one that President Trump is calling Obamagate. And that brings us to our tweet of the day. Author and frequent NewsMax guest David Harris Jr. tweeted, "When it all comes out about Obama, Hillary, Joe and the rest, good-hearted Democrats are going to have a hard time believing a Democrat politician ever again." To weigh in on that, let's welcome our A-plus panel for the day. National Director for the Freedom Foundation, Aaron Witt, joins us right now to talk about this. Aaron, could you tell me what Obamagate is? And I don't mean any unfairness to anybody, because I know it stirs up a lot of anxiousness among folks. But if you had to define it, what's the best way to go about it?
Well, his criticism of Trump, first of all, is a smokescreen to redirect and distract from Obamagate. We had to go through this 3 years of Russia collusion based on seemingly made-up evidence. And what it basically is Obama and his administration trying to get Trump, and General Flynn seemed to be the fallout boy for this, to try and prevent him from being in office. It was their insurance card.
Now, we're seeing a report, I see it coming across this afternoon. This I'm finding out of CNBC, that the state, let me just leave it. We got reports that the Attorney General will not expect any criminal charges against Obama or Biden. And I assumed that John Durham was looking into that as a possibility. Does that change your opinion at all, or just underscore that this was political from the beginning?
You know, I heard the same thing as well. I think that the issue is Biden is running for the highest office in the land, and the American people have a right to know what was his role in all of this. Because if he were to win that seat, would we then see him continue this pattern if he were to win that office? The American people have a right to know what his role was in all of this.
Aaron, are you hopeful, though, that the Senate will still take up the issue? I was hearing that an investigation could be launched as early as next month. I'm wondering what you're hearing.
Yeah, no, I hear the same thing. I am hopeful that they do take it up because, like I said, the people have a right to know. And if they're not going to be honest about what they were doing at that time, then the Senate has the right to go out and investigate, and I believe they should.
What do you think about Mr. Obama coming out? And I think Peter Navarro described him now that President Obama is now the press secretary for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think he exactly is. I mean, Biden, as we've all seen, he seems to be incompetent at the best of times. And I think the best thing that he can do is not be on camera.
Although, let me ask you this. Do you think it hurts him when it's kind of obvious that they're using President Obama because he is a skilled speaker, if nothing else? And Mr. Biden doesn't seem to be that. But does that actually reflect badly on Biden?
Oh, of course it does. Yeah, it absolutely reflects badly on him that he can't go in front of a camera and speak to the people. And he has to have Obama go out and do it for him. But I think that we're going to see more and more of it. I think Obama's going to play a role in Biden's campaign more and more as we get closer to November.
We're going to go ahead and bring in President of the Convention of States Action, Mark Meckler. Mark, we played just a few minutes ago just some sound from President Obama, really some harsh words for the leadership in our nation. I'm wondering your reaction to his remarks.
Look, I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's highly unusual in our history that a president who's no longer in office is commenting harshly against a sitting administration, something that's not normally done by an administration. And I actually think it shows, as was just being discussed, the weakness of the Democratic candidate at this time, that they feel they have to take a president out of retirement and have him speak out against an
administration. Yeah, Aaron, you may be right about that. What I'm wondering is what's in it for former President Obama?
Yeah, I'm not sure what Obama hopes to gain from it other than helping Biden to get into office. Biden.
Well, here's why I ask, Aaron. Here's why I ask. Wouldn't it be interesting if there was an opening on the Supreme Court and there was a Democratic president, or that somebody was married to someone that had political aspirations and did a good deed for the party? I'm wondering if anything's behind that. Let me ask Mark.
I actually think it's deeper than that. The Trump administration has been pretty good at disassembling Obama's legacy. And so if you look, there's very little of Obamacare left. His foreign policy is in tatters, thank goodness, from my perspective. And so Trump has really unwound 8 years of Obama's legacy. I think he's trying to step in to preserve that legacy. I think if Joe Biden is elected, he'll largely be an empty shell. And I think Obama is trying to secure his place as an advisor to the incoming administration.
Yeah, it seems like there are built-in problems with former President Obama campaigning for Biden.
Yes, and then we have our other problems as a nation right now as we look ahead with our debt mounting, and then this idea of another package.
Oh, I know, $3 trillion. The Republicans may want something, but it's not going to be $3 trillion, and it's not going to be to pay you to stay at home. It's going to be a different approach than that. Right. Thanks so much for being with us, folks.
Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Welcome back to American Agenda. The FBI is said to now have found possible links between the Pensacola gunman who started deadly gunfire at a U.S. military base last year and al-Qaeda. Information of this possible tie to the terrorist group comes from his iPhone, with reportedly no help from Apple to access it. Here to weigh in is our A-plus panel of the day, Freedom Foundation National Director Aaron Wyth and Convention of States Action President Mark Meckler. Welcome, gentlemen. Aaron, is this information that Apple should be forced to release in the future?
I don't think there's any easy answers on the privacy versus national security argument. It's a conversation that we need to have, though, out of respect for those lives lost in Pensacola. But let's not bail out intelligence agencies here. They should have done a better job vetting this individual beforehand. He shouldn't have even been allowed in the country, let alone on a military base.
Mark, what do you think?
I agree. I tend to lean on the side of civil liberties. I don't think Apple should be forced to be deputized as a deputy of the federal government.
Well, what if, as in other cases, you go to a judge and the judge says there's reasonable, I don't know the right terminology, but there's reasonable suspicion that there may be information on here that would help with an investigation?
Right. So that's probable cause for a warrant. I'd rather see that process. What they're really trying to do here, the government, is to force backdoor access into Apple products where they would essentially have a key. They're looking for a permanent key into Apple products whenever they need it. In this case, bad cases make bad law. So this is a case where you've got a guy who's a particularly bad actor, did very egregious things. It seems like it's justified to go after it, to get Apple to force it. But we've seen enough government abuse that we should be very wary of this.
So, Mark, then what's the takeaway for us moving forward? I mean, on one hand, you want access to this incredibly important information, but on the other hand, you want privacy to be protected. So unpack that for us.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the takeaway is I'm going to go back to where Aaron started. I think he's exactly right. The real problem here is that the federal government failed to vet this guy, and in fact failed to vet a lot of people from the Middle East who we've provided this kind of training to.
Hey, Aaron, I hate to be rude right here, but we wanted to dip into the president talking. If you gentlemen just stand by.